Welcome to the podcast.
Born ready.
This is called Alexander's Podcast. What episode is it?
5.
5 is my number, numerologically. So that's a lucky thing. Mm-hmm. Do you know your number?
Feels like 17.
Okay. That's interesting. Did you just pull that up?
Yes.
Wonderful. So I'll introduce you to the audience. Or why don't you introduce yourself? Who are you? Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Alex. It's great to be here. My name's David MacElwain, and as you know, we've been friends for 4 or 5 years, and through lots of stuff together, and watching each other grow and change over the last 4 or 5 years. I'm an entrepreneur. I own a couple of businesses in Calgary, and travel internationally to supply my businesses, and my aim in life is to make a difference, to create a higher vibration wherever I go, to leave situations better than I found them. And you're helping me with that. Thank you.
So, feel free to name your company. We're filming at...
This is the showroom in Bali Beyond. Bali Beyond's, my import business, I guess you would say, although I see it, I call it the love shop. Everything here is infused with love from Bali, and I get to go there a couple of times a year. I love the island. I love the people, and they truly are an amazing group of people that do put love into every piece, and so I get to bring this here. I like to say I'm bringing color and culture to Calgary, and God knows Calgary needs color and culture and love. And so we also have a second business in this location called City Tile, which I started in 1990. So we've had that for a long, long time. And it's a tile supply business, and we do some install. But again, I've always tried with that business to bring color to people's homes and something unique for their kitchen or their bathroom or their front entry or their fireplace, and we've been pretty successful with that over the years, and I love that business and this one as well. So I've been really blessed actually to have businesses that have succeeded for this many years. The City Tile business we started in 1990, and the Bali business we started in 2007. So I feel very grateful.
So you've been an entrepreneur for a long time?
I've always been an entrepreneur, and I always say there's a fine line between unemployed and self-employed, and
That's true. It's challenging.
It is, and so in the early days when like in the 80s and 90s, yes, I've always been self-employed. It's kind of created my own paycheck and worked for myself. But actually, I don't work for myself. I work for my customers. I work for my staff. I work for the bank. I work for my landlord, and they're all my employers in a way, and they're all my partners as well. And so this business, especially this business. I've got to team up with some really, really great people.
So I started this podcast because I wanted to create a platform to share with people real stories of entrepreneurialism and help people maybe learn about growing a business or starting a business, or just even understand businesses to a more to a deeper degree, because I'm really trying to work against the edification and the deification of hustle. Right? So many people are out there thinking that starting a business is their way to freedom. And for many entrepreneurs, that's absolutely not the case. And, we face challenges. It's not nearly as easy as people think. Mm-hmm. And so without, trying to shit all over it, I'm creating a platform and a space where I want to interview real entrepreneurs, people who've been doing it for a while, and create a space where we can share lessons learned or challenges faced and how you've overcome obstacles, and just talk about and share information that may help other entrepreneurs in their journey. or help people start their own businesses, or help business owners who are running their businesses get insights into different business models and different experiences of other business owners, and hopefully make a difference in that way. So every podcast is organic because obviously you're unique and your experience is unique and your industry is unique and the products you sell are unique. And so, a theme hopefully will just emerge in our conversation, and I'm certain that this conversation has the power to impact anybody who watches it and color and flavor their life in a different way, as you said as a part of your mission. So maybe we can start with a question around what has been one of the biggest lessons that you have learned in business that you think might contribute to the development of an entrepreneur or a business owner? Or what do you think, if you could share one thing with an entrepreneur or business owner to help prepare them for making a bigger difference, what would that be for you?
Wow. Alex, what comes when you're talking is that my life, one of my life goals is around consciousness and or awareness, or personal awareness, spiritual awareness, and so I've always imagined my business as like my dojo or my ashram to grow in, and so I think that for people to find their connection to the oneness or the wholeness of life is the biggest thing that can happen while we're here. We kind of get lost in the details of life, or in the thinking, and so for me, when I get stuck in what's not happening, or I'm in the busyness of it, I remember that what I'm doing here is the waking up, and so the business has been my teacher, and I look at it as my teacher. I think that's what I've asked for is to see a bigger piece of the pie, to be to be able to see the whole mosaic, and this is what has come to me to use this to see that for myself, and so that's and if I could give something to any entrepreneur, is that don't take it too seriously. I mean, have fun with what we're doing, and I guess it is serious. Be disciplined in showing up on a daily basis and doing your practices, and that brings success. And remember that it's all about, in a way, about waking up or getting connected to source or higher power, and so that's not only the gift that the business has given me or is giving me every day, but it's also what we are attempting to use the business to give others. We're taking the Bali business in a direction where we're helping people to create spaces in their homes where they can meditate and have stillness rooms or spiritual spaces in their homes, and it really works with the whole Bali thing. Bali being the island of the gods. Long before Western tourism came, to any degree, Bali has been known as a very highly spiritual place, and if you get to go there and not get caught up in the touristy things too much, but really be there long enough to feel what's happening with the people and the energy of the place, you can see that, and it's in everything that we bring. People walk in here and they go, "Wow, this really feels different. There's a different energy here," and so this. If your idea is to serve, in whatever capacity it is, to make people's lives better in whatever capacity that you have a business in, whether it's doing landscaping, or whether it's doing being a lawyer as an entrepreneur, recognize that we have the opportunity to bring people to a higher place, and to share the love, and that I believe if we help enough people to see those their own greatness, their own divinity, that we get to see our own greatness and divinity, and it comes back to us. And so that's the purpose for me, is to help other folks to see who they are.
You must have some story, or there must have been some moment in your life where you were trying to do the opposite, where you became obsessed with money, or it was about the external world. Like, what led you? Was there a tipping point in your life that you can share a story where you went from a psychology of, materialism or running a business for self-interest? Because like, it's a humbling perspective to say, like, this is my dojo. I've made a practice of my life. I think lots of people claim that, or I think in many ways we try to escape life by moving into practice like yoga. And I think it's very challenging for many people to really get into that space of really not having an attachment to an external system and simply cultivating their own being, particularly when there's demands on their time and demands on their staff or demands on them financially. How did you come to have this perspective? Like, what led you here?
It's funny, because I don't want you to think, or anybody to think, that I'm in that place all the time, or it's
clearly not.
Because I get caught up, like everybody or anybody, with paying the rent or making doing payroll and all of that kind of stuff. There's the day-to-day, and I've gotten much better at just relaxing into it and breathing into it and just saying, okay, this is all right, this is happening, but for me, quite a few years ago, I had an experience really a crossroads experience, an epiphany, if you will, and where I had been, quite involved with drugs and alcohol, and what had started out in my teens as fun, or seemed like fun, because in my teens when I drank or did drugs, I was taller and stronger and could dance better, and I had it brought me these gifts, but eventually, and it didn't take all that long for me. I'm pretty lucky it didn't take that long. That it turned on me, and instead of giving me the things that I thought it could in life, it took those things away, so I was young. I was in my 20s, and I had just married my wife at the time, and we had a 6-month-old child, and I woke up one morning. It was like, holy, like I have to do something. This is, so I really chose a path, and it was a spiritual thing that happened. It was like, it wasn't like just out of fear that, oh my gosh, I have to do something. It was, I saw 2 paths. And one was a path that was based in spiritual principles, and so I got involved in a kind of a recovery program at the time, and I've been really fortunate, because I've been able to stay with that my whole, all these years, and to use that vehicle as well as a vehicle to help others and to carry a message. And so it was a turning point, and I didn't know at the time, that would be a turning point, and I struggled a bit. I hadn't, as a youth, I didn't spend much time preparing myself for life. I didn't, I hadn't actually gone to school or studied any skills or trades, and I missed kind of the 10 years between 15 and 25, and I had some life experience, but it wasn't stuff I could take to the marketplace, and so that was my turning point, and it hasn't all been smooth sailing. There's been some struggle and of letting go of my need to know, letting go of the idea that I could run the show, and so I just I have some practices that today I do the best I can to be in a place of allowing my connection with the universe to come through, to just say yes, and when I do that, when I say yes, when I have gratitude and I say yes to each moment, life is pretty blissful. And when I don't, it can be a real struggle. And so that's and it's the same in business. I mean, business isn't business is life. And life is business in a sense. It's so it has to work here as well as anywhere else. So
you mentioned practices,
yeah.
and I'm certain you have spiritual practices or practices in your life as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
What has been your experience in how those practices have impacted your business? Have there been certain practices that you have found have made you a more powerful business leader? Have there been certain practices that you tried and didn't have any impact? What type of practices have you found move the needle for you?
Well, meditation does. When I'm active in my meditation practice, I'm much calmer and more connected, and it's funny because I think I see you as the king of practices, and I may have made that up, but I imagine you as being active in your morning practices and getting yourself prepared for the day, and so when I do that, it really makes a difference in my day. And I don't think of myself as a business leader. I think of myself as an entrepreneur here making a difference, and the practices would be meditation. We're in the middle of right now of doing a whole vision board again, and I've done vision boards in different formats, for years, and we're doing a whole big wall upstairs that has vision for the two companies, and three companies actually, because the online companies is a separate entity, and so having that vision board and not holding it too tight, but holding it loosely so that things can flow in is an important practice to me.
We're working together right now on a transition from focusing heavily on retail, and I think we'll take some time and take some shots of the space and maybe share with the viewers some of the stuff that's going on here in your store. But obviously now there's been a tremendous shift into e-commerce, and now we're working to bring Bali Beyond into the online world. What other significant shifts do you see going on in our marketplace right now? Like, if you were to make some predictions and give the audience some perspective on what to expect in the next 5 or 10 years, what do you see unfolding in your world and in the business world, and where do you see entrepreneurialism heading?
Well, I think that more and more people are being attracted to the idea of being an entrepreneur and starting their own business, and I'm not sure it's changing really fast. Like I look at my own business, and a lot of what we have here and that we sell here, the live edge tables and the furniture, really is not so easy to sell online. And so I think there's going to be a space for this, because of its uniqueness, to have a brick and mortar store. But the commodities, blue jeans and clothing and beauty products, all that kind of stuff I think it's all going online. And services, lots of services are going to be online. And I look at Amazon buying Whole Foods, and I think, my gosh, the whole food business is going to go online. And I think that so much is going to happen with food too, being grown in the cities, in big warehouses. So the whole food industry is about to change in a huge way. I like Elon Musk. I watch all his videos, and because he sees the future of what's happening, and the idea that we won't even own a vehicle, that we'll make a quick call, the vehicle will come and pick us up. There won't be anybody in it, and it's going to come in my lifetime. I take care of myself, and certainly in yours, you know.
Medical advancements these days.
Yeah.
We're going to live a lot longer.
Yeah, there's a good chance. And so these are exciting times. I think they're really exciting times. And yet I see these changes happening in the West, if you will, in the developed world, in North America and Europe. And as I travel into lots of Asia, like especially Indonesia and India, in Nepal and those places, this change isn't going to happen for quite some time, if ever, you know. So it's interesting. There's going to be really different societies come out of the change that's happening right now with artificial intelligence, and so they're exciting times that are coming in. So for the entrepreneur, I think you know, to get in and really learn, you know, what's happening, marketing online, you know, the whole marketing online thing. They're not even teaching it in the universities and colleges yet, in what's happening leading edge. I mean, it's moving so fast that the schools can't keep up. And so we actually have a position for an intern right now to come in and be hands-on, because we're as close to the leading edge as I think as we can get with where we're at, you know, with our capital and whatnot. But we're really there to. But where's a new person or a young person going to learn it? But right in the field, and so I just think they're exciting times, and there's lots of opportunity, and with technology and with the you know, with artificial intelligence coming, and yeah, I'm excited about it. So, but what I was saying is, I think stores like mine and the tile store, they're always going to be touchy-feely. People want to come and look at the colors, and they want to look at the sizes and that kind of stuff. So I think there's going to be a place for brick and mortar, but it's certainly going to change. You know, the big box stores, some of them are going to be gone, and not the hardware stores, but the you know, your Sears and that kind of thing that's happening right now.
I think Sears just declared insolvency. Yeah, that is crazy. You know, you bring up good points. Like our society, and especially in the marketing and entrepreneurialism world, like we tend to have these cycles, you know, like, and things oscillate, you know, from one extreme to another. And yet there seem to be principles that persist, that are always there underneath. And sometimes they're forgotten for, you know, months or years, but, you know, we always come back to them. And I think there's fads and there's trends, and then there's transformations that happen culturally that last forever or become permanent. And it's really hard to predict those things. And just like you know, well, the marketplace continues to move more and more towards specialization and virtualization, and you know, how you're moving into e-commerce, but you're still preserving your roots. Like, I think that's an important thing to acknowledge, because I think I'm doing the same thing in many ways. Like in my perception, the marketplace is over-specialized almost. And so, you know, I said when I started my company that I want to build a service business, that I want to hire real employees. Shocker, you know, that I don't want to work with contractors out of the Philippines or out of India or out of some third world nation that are very difficult to manage and that aren't truly a part of my culture. And I don't want to work with subcontractors, that I want to build a real team. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think a lot of people would label me as stupid for doing that, right? Like, because I take all the risk, I have all the overheads, my costs up front in my career are a lot higher. But at the end of the day, I think by doing that, I end up with a far more sustainable business, because where a specialist can only do so much, you know, we're able to do a lot more. And because of that, we're incrementally growing, maybe not growing really, really quickly like a specialist might be able to, but will endure, right?
But Alex, there's something in that's not measurable, and which is that if you have a team of people who care about your vision and care about your company and care about you and care about your customers, you can't measure the value of that. You know, it's not just providing a service, but it's also providing that service with caring, with love.
So you've done that because you have people here that really believe in you. What do you think causes that? What makes you different than business owners that don't have that measurable caringness?
Well, I mean, I think gone are the days of secrecy and the boss not including people in the planning. And I remember I had a friend years ago, he went to work with a company and he said, they're not even telling me what their plans are. And I laughed. I said, well, that's probably because they don't have any. And he said, no, I'm sure they're planning without me. I said, no, they're probably not. And anyway, he left that company because he didn't feel connected. And I think today what's important is that the line between employer and employee needs to be more partnership and working together than, in my opinion, than having an authoritarian type of an attitude or here's your job, get that done.
Yeah.
So working together, taking the time to get to really know each other and be involved in people's lives and that kind of stuff. So that I mean, people want to feel like they're making a difference. We did some interviews where because one of our people was leaving, she's going back to school, and so we're interviewing a kind of an administrator, and we've had several people come to us. They're from corporate, downtown. They're making really, really good money, and they're willing to take huge cuts to be somewhere where they can make a difference, where they can be hands-on, where they can be in the middle of the fray, where they can make decisions, where they can, be part of it. And it's really interesting because, they're working in corporate making, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100,000, their middle, management situation, but they don't feel fulfilled. They're a cog in the wheel. And so I think that's changing. And I don't know how it's going to change for the big corporations, but I think it for the smaller entrepreneurial businesses, I think it's important that the leader, lead with the people that are there, as opposed to just kind of being the boss. And so what you're doing, I think, is not stupid. As a matter of fact, I don't think anybody would ever think you were stupid.
Well,
stop that.
I mean, it is true though. It is like, I'm in a risk position. It's contrary to the norm to be hiring employees and to put people on payroll these days.
Yes.
Like you interview 20 business owners who've got Facebook pages who are saying they run a business. Mm-hmm. And if you ask them how many real employees they have, they'll say 0, right? Because they mitigate their risk by hiring subcontractors and, project managing out the work and that kind of stuff. Very few people invest in culture. We're
very much alike then, aren't we? Because, I don't want to sub out that part of my operation. I want the people to be here to know what we're doing, and it's on a daily basis. And the whole thing with social media is that it's a conversation with the people who love us. And the people that support us. It's not just a reporting; it's a conversation. Social media, I believe, is just that. And I love it. People come in. We do a lot of video work. I mean, they're not as well prepared as your videos like this, but we do a lot of video, and often it's just me talking to our clients, and then we get feedback, and it's beautiful. What a time we live in when we can actually talk about our business. I can say, if we're having coming to the end of a month and we need a little support to get us over the hump, people want to support our business and they come in and do that. And so that's a great vehicle. And so I think not only are your staff, your employees, partners, but so are your customers.
I have been getting really clear on the sense of intimacy and family that I'm working to produce in my company. Mm-hmm. I think that, I would almost label your employees and your community family to you. Mm-hmm. And it's been very interesting to see the transformation that's occurred with my clients as a result of that. Mm-hmm. So, one of my clients is a client by the name of Dr. Nima. He runs an online program and he helps people transform their perceptions and actions in life and get over some of their emotional bullshit that holds them back. And so him and I are really quite close, and so we do a lot of collaborative coaching with one another. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that he helped me really awaken to is the value that I have in the intimate relationships that I develop with my clients. I was trying to live a life where I kept that boundary kept that wall up or kept a screen up to keep people from certain, secrets or challenges or whatever's going on for me in my life. And when I transformed the context of who I wanted to work with, or who our best clients, or our closest clients, or our most familial clients were, what I realized was that I have the greatest success and the greatest contribution with the clients and with the team members who really do identify as family. Mm-hmm. And what was interesting was we automatically began to separate from the clients that we didn't have those family ties with. And the clients who I then began to be more open with as a result of that context, I started to get the most tremendous feedback and advice and caring simply by just telling them the truth. And at first that was really, really scary for me. Mm-hmm. Since I've known you, I remember I signed up for my men's weekend. And one of the tenets was trust the men, right? I didn't know anything about it. I signed up with Everett. We were told to book tickets and to fly to San Francisco, and Jordy would be there to pick us up. And I didn't know who Jordy was, And so we land and we meet this strange guy at the time, right? And he takes us to this apartment, and there were 13 of us in this 500 square foot apartment, right? Sleeping there for the night before we went to Oakland to do the weekend. And, halfway through the evening, you show up. And it was just like, this dude flying back from Bali, just showing up. And at the time I was like, why? Like, what's in it for you? Why are you here? What's the deal? And like, your thing was you were coming along for the ride, and you were there to care for us. And, the whole family connection was really uncomfortable for me, like really uncomfortable. I was like guarded and didn't like, that was so, for me, that was like the beginning of kind of like opening up my shell of being an only child, mechanistic, non-spiritual, pragmatic, all the ways you can say, closed off individual. And, you showed up, and there was instantly this sense of intimacy would be the word I'd use now. I wouldn't know to use it then. Mm-hmm. How did you come to be okay with that? I mean, mine was through experience with being called out, and my experience with men's team, and my experience with taking on challenges and doing mushrooms and like exploring my mind and traveling the world with John and everything else. How did you come to be okay with sharing things with people? And you have 100,000 people on your Facebook page or something. How many people do you have following you guys? Am I exaggerating? A lot. Yes. You have a fairly well followed Facebook page anyway. How is it that you came to be okay with telling strangers the truth? Because I mean, I watch people all day long just protecting, right? Especially entrepreneurs, because they're told we have to have an image. I have to PR my personality, right? If my customers find out I'm having cash flow problems, or if they find out I'm having an employee issue, they're gonna fucking fire me. How did that unlock for you?
Well, years of it. I mean, we're actually hung up by our secrets.
Totally.
And so it's imperative, actually, I believe it's imperative to not have them. I mean, one needs to be appropriate in where they're sharing and what they're sharing, but it's I can't have any secrets. It's not healthy for me.
Yeah, but how did you get to that?
Well, I would say a lot of it was in the 12-step program. There's a level of honesty there that's disarming for sure. And people have got to that because they're going to die if they don't. They've often lost everything, and I was fortunate that I began to find myself in that program before I lost everything. I didn't have anything. I was just a kid, but I did know that I didn't fit in, and I did know that I felt uncomfortable. I did know that there was an emptiness inside of me that needed to be filled, and for me, I call that connection love, and that I was looking for, that it wasn't there. It didn't feel like it was there. I couldn't, so if we want to experience love, I believe we have to share love, And sharing love is intimacy. Sharing love is
Telling the truth.
telling the truth. So it's and I became like a spiritual student, if you will. I spent years with a teacher who had been also many years with Osho, and so we traveled, and I got to do groups with him in Mexico and Europe and
What teacher was
Bali. His name was Paul Lowe, and he was amazing and taught me a lot about love and unconditional love and empowered me to have a stronger yes and a stronger no, because sometimes in our life when we want to be liked, we'll step on our no. We'll say, I can't say that. She won't like me, or he won't like me, and so and that's not being honest either. And so when you get to a comfortable place with being able to have boundaries, then you don't necessarily need them so much. It's like, okay, nobody can really hurt us, and
like if you know who you are, you don't care what other people think you are.
No, if you have a big stick, you don't have to use it. And so I mean, our big stick is our connection with our higher power, and my connection, and so I can be comfortable just about anywhere. It doesn't mean I don't get in my head and get out of the moment, but if we're really present, like we are right here, if we're really present, there is nothing that can hurt us, because there only is this moment. There's just now, and we're safe, and it's only in our imagining of the future, or our preconceived ideas of what's right or wrong, or safe or unsafe, that we get hung up.
Yeah, or who we should be to please some authority, or
our ideas of right and wrong, and good and bad, and shoulds and shouldn'ts, and there's another teacher of mine, Dr. David Hawkins, and Hawkins wrote a book years ago called Power versus Force, and that was my first book that I read of his, and then he wrote 5 or 6 others, and just amazing, enlightened physician, and well known, and it delivered such a message of love and caring and awakening, but in such detail. So I recommend Hawkins. Have you read any Hawkins?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and it helps us to be, more present, and to recognize that, in a way we're just passing through, and nobody gets out of here alive.
That red line or the red string that connects us all, and
so I remember that night in San Francisco, when we were at that fellow's apartment, and I think that was his mom and dad's apartment, actually. So he was a man who contributed hugely as well. His mom and dad had moved out of their apartment right in the middle of San Francisco so that we could come and stay there, and we were sleeping on the floor and couches, and it was beautiful to be there and have all those men go through that weekend process of which is all for me, for many of my friends that I've encouraged to do that. It's been just another step in their awakening, and it's a real great weekend on relationships, and with your dad, and for men who have children, about being a great dad, and also with their relationship with their partners, with their significant other, their wife, or even their ex-wife, to have healthy, healed, loving relationships with a partner that you're no longer with, but still parenting together. So those are some of the tools that come out of that weekend for lots of men, and to have a place for them. I'm still involved with that, and we meet once a week to be there to support each other in our lives, and so I love that process, and being with those men.
So we have another common teacher, John, who I interviewed on a prior podcast. I think, another commonality that we have is like our investment in education, or our value in education and learning. What have been some of the most notable teachers or books, or like if you were to make some recommendations to the audience, what are some things that you would definitely want to make sure that they went out and they learned or they read, or who has made a big impact in your life?
So Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, it's been a mainstay for years and still, is amazing. Years ago, I some of the technology in Dale Carnegie's work.
Yep.
It's been, amazing and great. And what comes to mind right now is also Autobiography of a Yogi.
Yogananda?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. What a great spiritual book. And you mentioned Dr. John DeMartini. John, I've spent so many weekends with John and longer teachings with John, and he's amazing. He's probably one of the most brilliant teachers on the planet, and committed to teaching and sharing and learning himself. Who else? There's lots of. Do you know David Data has, really very quietly, he's still doing groups but does great work. I
was literally talking about him yesterday.
Yeah. A friend of mine just went and did a 5-day with him and came back. Wow, just so turned on. So that's a bit of it. And do you know that Time Magazine's Man of the Century was a man by the name of Bill Wilson? And Bill was the co-founder of the Alcoholics Anonymous and 12-step programs in the 30s. And he was the Man of the Century by Time Magazine, which is pretty cool. And Bill was divinely inspired. There's no question that the work that he's done and how that 12-step work has grown into so many different, programs, and basically the same process of helping people become spiritually awake and spiritually connected. I really believe that we are spiritual beings, having a physical experience, and when we're disconnected spiritually, it's very tough here. It's a kind of a rough place to live when we're not connected, So Bill, I've read all of the books and all of the history and how he got to where he was to be able to author the book, we call it the Big Book in Alcoholics Anonymous, so he had helped the first 100 men and women, but he basically authored most of that himself, and so he's somebody that I really would recommend to everybody. And I remember, I won't tell that story, but so that there's more. It's endless. I have a huge library, although I thinned it down some, but books saved my life. There's no question that reading and now I do on Audible. I'm in a book all the time on Audible, and it kind of keeps things flowing and fresh. Thanks for asking.
You're welcome. What do you have any parting ideas or anything that comes up for you that you want to just express or share with the world? What's something that, I don't know, what's a question that I haven't asked you that maybe I should?
Tell me what I don't know. Yeah, that's right. What comes up just for a minute is talk about time. We make up in our minds how long things are going to take, or how we have preconceived ideas about stuff, and time is a funny thing. We can be patient and allow things to develop in time, but stuff can happen really fast. It really can, and our ideas about how fast things can happen can hold things back. So let's recognize that we don't know, if you're starting a business and you've got a great idea and you really believe in it and you're focused on it, don't imagine it's going to take 5 years or 10 years or, this world's going to change so much in the next 5 years. It's going to be crazy, exciting, really. But so stuff can happen really fast. So time is the deal. And, I love watching you and the changes and what are happening for you and what you're doing and how you've stepped out and invested in yourself and in your company. I think things are going to happen really, really fast for you. And I'm tickled to be on the ride with you. Let's rock this place.
Okay, that's a great way to end. So thank you very much for being my guest.
Awesome. Thanks.
And letting us use your space and sharing some energy with me. And
happy to have you here. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah. We will link David's information below this video. I will have my editorial team link all the books that we mentioned, and if we can provide any information, feel free to put some comments in the box below. Head over to David's Facebook page, send me a message, whatever you'd like to do.
Come visit us.
Come visit the store. It's down on Cleveland Crescent and here in Calgary, Alberta. So if you're coming to Calgary or if you're in Calgary, make sure to stop by. There's always stuff here that will definitely improve your quality of life. I mean, I literally have to stop myself from taking things home with me, and my whole team loves it. So it's a really cool, and David's absolutely right about the energy. It's impossible to be a part of the atmosphere here at Bali Beyond without definitely getting a greater degree of connection with yourself. And so hopefully this podcast has helped with that. Hit that share button, subscribe to my channel, and until the next time.
Love you guys.
My name is Alexander. This is David MacElwain. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Alex.